was so happy. So very happy. And now...
Sorry about that if anyone saw that. Tried to adjust my phone and ended up throwing it across the room instead. Great crack. Hi there, bud. Thanks for joining. We're just gonna wait a few minutes there and get a few people in and get Graham to join then. Oh, Graham's here. Let's invite. Unreal. It worked on the first attempt.
Hey!
Hooray. What's the crack? How are you doing, bud?
Not too bad.
That happened to me just a second ago. If you saw that I went live and then went unlive again, I tried to adjust my phone and fucked it across the room. Slapped right off my guitar. 8 strings out of tune now anyway.
All right.
Yeah, you won't need that for a while anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave it on my lap anyway because I've got shit everywhere here.
Yeah, that's no hassle. We'll chat about it, a bit about what's going on with you, you know, where it all started, chat about the album, all that kind of good stuff, do a few riffs, and then tell people where to buy your stuff, you know?
Sounds good.
Which is the main thing. That's why we're here, so people buy stuff.
Fuckers.
Yeah, exactly. Music is a job, right? Yeah. So, all right, cool. We have a few people coming in there now, so just like to welcome everyone onto the show. Been doing this for a few months now. Let's go crack. What better way to spend lockdown, you know? So I think this is like episode 13 or 14. Not sure which, but it's one of them. So we have Graham Keane from the Vicious Head Society with us. So it's a one-man prog project from Ennis. Your last release, Abject Tomorrow, came out in 2017, and it was met with great feedback basically everywhere. Anywhere I saw a review, it was class, like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, all that good stuff. And essentially in 2017, you became the prog voice of Ireland. Like, don't even try and deny that. Don't even try and deny it. So today we're going to chat about the upcoming release, which is called Extinction Level Event, as well as what got you started on music and all of the good stuff like that.
Sure. Sounds good.
Sick. So usually the first few questions in this are kind of the same. So for you, what got you into music in general? What was the first riff? What made you pick up guitar and stuff? You know?
Oh well, I mean, it's a kind of a very big question. I suppose I should elaborate a bit more. If I'm talking too much, tell me to shut up. But basically, I grew up in a very musical house. All my brothers were into rock, metal, and had huge record collections. So it was just a natural thing that I was going to get into it. You know, I mean, it's just what I was hearing all the time. I think the first riff that made me want to play guitar, the first song that made me want to play the guitar was "Jump" by Van Halen. Believe it or not. A long time ago on RT, you never saw rock or anything of the sort on RT television, but they had this thing called MTUSA, and it was basically a show that they kind of imported from MTV. And on a couple of occasions, they put on a rock show. So you had Def Leppard, Whitesnake, and friendly rock, shall we say. And I just saw the jump. Sorry, no, it wasn't the jump video. It was the Hot for Teacher video by Van Halen. And when I saw Eddie play the guitar solo on the school tables with this smile on his face, I thought, I want to do that. I have to do that. So I think I was about 6 when I saw that, but I didn't actually get a guitar till I was 18. So there you go. But that started the kind of, I want to play music thing. And then just it being around me all the time, my brothers, showing me new albums all the time. Check out this Dio album, and yeah, basically just immersed in music. So I think it was inevitable it was going to happen.
That's really interesting, man. I didn't realize you started guitar so late at 18.
Yeah,
Nice.
I played drums for a long time before that. I never really practiced drums. My brother was really good. He's still a really good drummer. He's more kind of centered towards bluesy stuff. He's a phenomenal and jazz drummer. But he kind of would let me have a go on him now and again on occasion. So I sort of picked up a little bit here and there. And then, local bands, when you're a teenager, 12, 13, can you play a bit of drums for us? So, I'd sit in and kind of jam with them a bit. I never really owned a drum kit. I was just able to tip away and do a few bits here and there. And I would start to drift in and out of music. And then one day, I think it's a guy you know quite well, actually. He used to live down in Cork, Liam Griffey. Does that ring a bell to you?
I don't. No, not to me anyway. I didn't live in Cork most of my life. I lived in Limerick most of my life. I moved to Cork a few years ago. Yeah. He
knows all the Cork heads anyway. He was telling me about it. And some dude called to my house and said, "Hey, I heard you want to buy a guitar." And I went, "Okay." So I had 50 quid in my pocket, and I said, "Here, have 50 quid for it." So I bought this cheap guitar and a crappy amp. And I found out later that it was actually Liam that sent him to me. So I just kind of got hooked on the guitar then. I was actually going through quite a difficult time. I was really, really depressed and anxious all the time back then. I was 18 or 19. It was a really horrible, tumultuous time. And I think the guitar just sort of helped to ease that. I would sit there for hours and just play. I hadn't a clue what I was doing. I was trying to figure out everything on my own. I had a couple of lessons with a friend of my brother's. And then I just sort of got really immersed in it, I suppose. And here I am now trying to fucking sell albums like a fucking idiot.
Oh man, that I've listened to The Signal a good few times over the last few days, and that solo at the start of it is just I can't. The Italian hands thing is what I'm trying to do. It's that, So, but that's mad. I'm really shocked that you started that late, man. Because you just see so many people that are like playing guitar as they're born, like like Guthrie Govan and lads like that. And I am making that comparison now, right?
Oh Jesus! I had a few lessons with Guthrie when I was in music school, and it's frightening how good he is.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying when you're standing in front of him, and it makes you want to go, Jesus Christ, I got to do something else with my life. He's that good.
Yeah. Yeah. Do I stick with this or do I just end it all?
Terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
He's an amazingly humble guy, believe it or not.
Sorry?
He's an amazingly humble guy.
I would imagine so. He seems like it. When you're watching the Aristocrats live and everything like that, he seems fairly down to earth, and he's always smiling, so looks like a good guy. Yeah. So what you have with the Vicious Head Society is a fairly unique thing, being the one-man band. Not unique, but it's very uncommon. So at what point did you kind of conceptualize it and decide to undertake this one-man mission?
Well, I've always been writing music. In fact, the reason I took up guitar when I was 18 was I was in a band. I think I was drumming with a band, and I wanted to kind of write music, but they just wanted to do covers. So I thought maybe if I learned to play a bit of guitar, they might, they might sort of do some original stuff as well. So I've always been kind of tipping away with making up little riffs. I remember when I first started playing, I used to use one finger. That was it. I'd write these death metal songs, that are crazy death at the time, and all I used to listen to. So, I was always writing music, and when I went to music school, the reason I actually went there is because I wanted to become a better writer, not necessarily a better guitar player. I don't really consider myself a guitar player. I know that sounds really weird, but I don't consider myself anywhere near as good as some of the people that I look up to. For me, songwriting is what I care about more. And when I study stuff, or when I try to learn things, I try to break them down in such a way that I understand what's going on in the song. Like I'm listening to the layers and trying to figure out those kind of things, what makes that song really work. So the guitar thing, although I like to practice everything, it's not my primary focus, So what was the question again? I kind of lost track of what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's still very interesting. How did you conceptualize Vicious Head Society? Yeah.
So basically, when I came back from music school, I had shitloads of ideas, and I did want to put together a proper band at first, but I mean, there's not many people around Ennis that are into prog or that even want to start a band. I mean, it's a huge commitment to ask. Like, let's rehearse this part for 20 weeks in a row until we get it right. You know, it's there's a lot going on in the songs, I suppose. So I just thought I'd do it myself, and I prefer to write on my own. Like if I need somebody else's band, I'm happy to play what they want me to play. But when I'm doing my own thing, I don't want anybody to say, "Oh, let's put this in here, take this out." I like to be in control of my own thing, and it's kind of weird. But when I start a song, generally I know how it's going to go from top to bottom. You know, there's no room for kind of messing with it, at least in my mind anyway. So it's easier for me to do this on my own and then be just in control of what the sounds are going to be like, what the concepts are going to be like, without someone taking the piss out of me.
Yeah, and if you fuck it up, you're the only one to blame.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I kind of like it to fall on my shoulders a lot of the time. So, yeah, it kind of came from that. I just wanted to do something important, or I wanted to make something that I was proud of. You know, I had no intention of selling music or anything like that, or I never thought anyone would give a damn about what I was doing. You know, I really did not think that anyone would even buy a CD at the time. I was just making music because that's what I do. You know, there was never any intention of releasing anything. And then the big turning point in terms of kind of, you know, taking it a whole lot more seriously was when my wife got ill. I mean, I don't know if you can relate to this kind of feeling or this kind of what I'm going to say, but generally we kind of go through our day and we don't consider for a moment that it could all end. You know, that you could get hit by a bus, or you could find out you're very ill in 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So we tend not to have any urgency about what we're doing, you know. And I didn't really have any urgency with music. It was like, I'll record a bit next week and throw down a riff or two in 2 weeks' time. You know, it wasn't a priority. But when that happened, and when we're I remember it so clearly when we're in the doctor's office and he says to her, "You have cancer." It was just, for me, first of all, I was in shock for a few days, but it was a real lightning bolt that, holy shit, my time is finished, and I better do something with it. And I better do something that I'm proud of and that I care about, rather than kind of worrying about, you know, the trivial shit in life, like, you know, making money. And those things are important too, don't get me wrong, but for me, they're a bit more trivial in comparison to doing something that, you know, I don't know, could inspire somebody. That's kind of a tall thing to ask, I suppose. I don't know. But those were the main factors to make me, to really push me onto it. It really made me want to, you know, finish it and finally put something out into the world.
Wow, that's amazing. And it was brilliant as well. So it's you know, you were saying you didn't think anyone would like it or give a shit about it. 2,000 views in a week for the signal.
Yeah, I mean that was way beyond what I expected as well. Before I put it out, I'm always really, really nervous about putting anything out. So like I kind of talked, you know, about it with my wife, and I talked about it with the label guy and Andy from Hostile. And I kind of went, you know what, if I hit 100 views by the end of the week, I'd be pretty pleased with that. You know, I mean, you just have no idea how things are going to go or how they're going to be accepted or what people are going to think, you know. But, you know, the views were climbing and the pre-orders were flying. I was going, holy shit, you know, people really love this song. And I talked it over with some of the guys that were involved too, you know, like Nathan sang and Pat, he didn't play bass on this song, he played bass on most of the album. And Matthias, who produced, you know, I asked him what do you think would be, you know, a single. And the minute Nathan had finished the signal, he said to me, that's your single, you've got to release this one. Because it's probably, like, if there was a ballad on this album, it would be that song. That's the closest thing there is to a ballad.
It's your track 4, is it?
What, sorry?
It's your track 4.
It's my track 4.
Yeah.
It's the most accessible, I suppose, and it's easy to kind of, there's not too much prog widdly stuff in it, you know, and that was kind of intentional too, because on the last album, like every song is fucking 8 minutes plus, and that's too much, and it's a big ask for people to sit down and listen to a 10-minute song, especially when there's an intro about 50 seconds long of noise or something like that. You know, you've got to be respectful of people's time, I think. And I was much more conscious with this release. You know, I wanted this song to be really concise, to the point, very melodic and catchy, something that you could easily hum, but also to have the things that, you know, that I like to do as well, which is a little bit of prog in there.
Yeah, you know, brilliant, man. But like, to be fair, I say your target audience is looking for the longest possible songs, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
there's
so
that on the album too. I mean, the album opens with a 10-minute instrumental, so they aren't going to be left.
Happy days, man. Can't wait. No, that's brilliant. So if that's your track 4, man, I'm actually more excited for the album now if everything else is going to blow my face off. That's the fucking job.
Well, it's a very heavy album. I think it's a lot heavier than the last album. And I'm much happier with this album in terms of the production. You know, I wanted a much more modern sound. I knew what it was going to sound like from when the album, like the whole idea of this album was conceived. I think just as I finished the first one, I knew what this album was going to be. I'd written a kind of a story, and I talked to some of the lads that I was in a cover band with. You know, I'd run it by them. I'd bounce it off people and see what they thought. They're like, yeah, it sounds really a cool idea. So I kind of went with it, and I started kind of fleshing it out from there. And the song was actually written very, very quickly. I think all the songs were written probably within 6 months, but then we had 3.5 years of trying to get the album fucking finished.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge that you face generally?
Oh God, the biggest challenge I had with this album, you're not going to believe it, was such a tiny thing.
Bass?
No, nothing to do with it.
I'm joking.
Hang on. I had an issue with my computer. I had what do you call it again? I can't remember the technical name for it, but essentially I had this kind of like static sound. When I plug in my guitar, it sounded like it was horrendous. Like I could not use the guitar tracks. They were filled with horrible kind of ground loop noise. That was it.
I think that's from the porn virus, I believe, from excessive pornography.
Well, that too. Wife is watching. So basically, I spent fucking a good part of 1.5 years trying to figure out this whole thing. I was convinced it was where we used to live. It was, you know, there was power. There was something wrong with the power. So we moved into this new house, and the problem was still there. And I was driving my wife nuts. I was going to her, I think I have it now. I've got it sorted. I was like that meme of the guy pointing at the fucking board with all the, you know, the lines pointing to different things.
Yeah.
So we tore the place apart. I nearly had an electrician come in and rewire the place just because I couldn't record. And then eventually one night I was on YouTube, and I came across a company called iFi, and they specialize in solving this issue. So I sent them a message, and they got back to me, and we traded a few audio files so they could hear what the problem was. And then they said, you got to buy this thingy. There's this little USB isolator Yoki Bob. And I bought it, and it fixed everything.
Jesus,
overnight.
I'd say you were going fucking mental. That sounds...
You've no idea. If my wife could
know,
have a conversation where she'd fucking... it would be
it's
funny.
It's like that episode of Breaking Bad when the fly is in the room and they can't figure out where it is, you know?
Oh God, yes. I swear. That was the biggest thing, but there was other things as well. Like the first singer who was going to return on this album. Like Nathan sang one song on the first album, and then there was a guy called Wilmer who was going to sing on this album as well. But he was really, really busy with all kinds of other things happening. You know, like things were starting to take off for him, and he was doing it for free. And I mean, I couldn't really kind of be pushing him to sing for me. You know, when he wasn't being paid. You know, people aren't being paid. They kind of do stuff on their own time, and it was dragging on, and getting more and more work. And I said, look, you know, maybe I should look for somebody else. And but you know, we kind of agreed that was the best thing to do at the time. And then one night out of the blue, I just messaged Nathan and said, "Hey, you up for singing?" And he went, "Yeah, send me over some stuff." It was really like he was just waiting in the wings to do it, you know. And yeah, he did everything in about 3 weeks. It was fantastic. Absolutely nailed everything I asked him to do. You know, I would send in these extensive notes about how I wanted to sing each line, and I want you to sing it like it's from the 1970s here. It must have been bizarre for him to try and fucking compute. What the hell? How do I sing that like it's like 1970? So he's just amazing to work with. It was just so good. It really was.
That's sick. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more of him on the record. That's mad. So with Lockdown, man, how did you find writing the album with Lockdown? Did you find it, or I suppose the album was probably written before all of this. It was just performing it and recording it and stuff. But generally, creatively, has Lockdown helped or has it made it worse?
Well, I actually found it kind of okay at first, really, to be honest. I mean, there was a shock of losing all the work. I play in a wedding band and I teach music, and I had to shut that down. I mean, there's no weddings or gigs at all, so my income is kind of, way lower than it used to be. But for me, it gave me time to kind of focus on small little things within each song. I really wanted this album to be kind of almost cinematic, like I was trying to write for a movie, if that makes any sense. So
I was going to say it a second ago, man. If you didn't end up being a musician, you would have been a movie producer based on the concept, which we'll get onto in a second.
So, I bought a lot of samples and a lot of I bought a couple of unusual type of instruments. There's one called Rev, which has backwards pianos and scrapes and all kinds of stuff. And I started layering those into the songs, and for me, then that's when it really started to take on exactly what I was looking for from the album. So it gave me a lot of time to kind of to brood on those kind of things. Walk around and singing things in my head and going, it needs to have a car crash sound here, like Mad Science kind of shit for a while. So it was like I didn't notice too much. It did give me a lot of time to focus on things, and and finally put it out and go, okay, we're done now. I can draw a line under these songs and say goodbye to them.
Yeah. And are you a nitpicker for them? Like, would you listen to them 40 times and change a little thing every now and again, or would you be happy to send them off when you think it's done?
I suppose a bit of both. There's some songs that I would be very happy to let go of, like very easily. Like the first one that I got mixed, the instrumental. I didn't nitpick too much with that one. Sometimes when I'm writing a song or when I'm recording or whatever, there's a very strong vision and it's easy to kind of to crystallize it. It happens. I don't have to kind of think about it too much. I don't have to leave it and come back to it. And then there's a few other ones, like The Signal took a really long time, and it's nowhere near the most complicated song. In terms of, like, if you listen to it, you think, oh, this is kind of easy to get to listen to. But if I were to show you the project, there's probably 35 to 40 layers and parts of it, of just things you don't really kind of hear, but they're there, So it just depends on the song. Like, sometimes I'll nitpick till the sun comes. Another time I'll just kind of go, you know what? I think that's where it needs to be.
Yeah. I really like the samples in The Signal. I think they bring a lot of raw emotion to the track, especially just before the solos, with the way it's played and the way the bends are and everything like that,
That was actually Mateus that put those in. I didn't put any speech samples in, but he would throw back a few ideas at me like that, and I instantly loved it. I thought that's perfect. It's got to say, he did a few extra bits like that, and he put some Brazilian drumming in one song as well, and a little bit of clean guitar. So he added his little touch to it, when he was mixing, which I was more than happy for him to do, because it's nice to get someone else's perspective, especially if you trust them. I had heard his own music, and it's really on a similar kind of wavelength. So I knew what he knew what he was talking about, and that he'd do the right thing for the songs.
Yeah, amazing. Now this isn't on the sheet, right? But since they're currently viewing here, I'm going to ask the question now. When COVID is all said and done, when are you touring with the Enigma division?
Oh Jesus! Honestly, that would be really cool, but I really don't ever see it becoming a live thing, unless somehow I come across a whole bunch of money, like everybody that's played on the album lives across the world. Nathan's in Arizona, Clement is in Slovenia, Pat's down in Limerick, so maybe we could do a two-piece band myself and him.
Get the drum kit on your back and the kick pedal, and
play the
microphone up there,
So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to ever say never, but it doesn't seem likely. And the way things are at the moment, it definitely doesn't seem likely at all. But who knows? You never know.
In an ideal world, though, who would you pick to have as your live lineup if you couldn't get the guys in Arizona and everything like that? If it was possible, and you were to go and set out and do it and start sending those emails, who would you get onto?
Christ, that's a really, really tough question.
Also isn't a scripted question, but fuck it.
Holy shit. Who would I pick? I'd have to think about that. I'll come back to that one later.
Come back to it. Yeah. What do we have? Okay, so right, let's get into the meat of it. All right. So
cool.
The concept of the album, Extinction Level Event, is 7 different people coming to their end essentially. So I just want to ask, how did this idea come about? Who are the people in the event? What is the event? It's such a insane concept to hear an album about. Most people just write about fucking Lovecraft or something. So,
well, I suppose again it kind of relates to the experience with my wife. The realization that things are definitely finite, that you're not going to live forever, and what it means to understand that, or how would you react if you found out you had 3 or 4 days to live? What would you do? What kind of things would you make amends with people you've done wrong to? Would you hold on to? Would you decide you don't want to because they deserve, to be told to go fuck themselves, or whatever way you want to put it? I mean, basically, it comes down to the whole kind of notion of, I suppose, we all kind of wear this exterior that we're very hardy people, and we go out in the street and, got our metal shirts on, and but at the end of the day, you're all a phone call away from being a crumpled mess on the floor. It just takes one phone call to tell you your parent is dying, or your dad is very sick, or something like that. So I wanted to explore how people would react to those kind of scenarios. That was the whole idea of the concept at first. So, and I didn't want to do it on a kind of a worldwide kind of thing, the world's ending and humanity core kind of shit. I wanted to kind of focus on 7 kind of archetypal stories of different kind of scenarios that people could find themselves in. But I don't like to write in a very, lyrics are tough for me, I gotta admit, but I don't like to write them in a very obvious way. I don't like, just some lyricists that I can't listen to because of that, where they tell you everything that's happening. No, I'm going to the fridge. Now I'm eating a sandwich.
Yeah. You want people to take what they perceive from it. Yeah.
I hope that when people hear the lyrics or read them, that they don't understand them at first, and that there's something that might draw them back into it. Fingers crossed. Anyway,
which is a very movie-like thing as well. If you have movies that don't appear to be what they seem at first, and then on the second watch, take Fight Club for example, that kind of, it's a class movie, but then when you watch it the second time, it's just everything,
So with the archetypal kind of story type thing, with the signal, for instance, we have the story is there's a man on an Earth orbiter at some time in the future kind of job, and he's stationed up there to observe whatever phenomena might be happening in space. But before he left Earth, he did something really terrible to someone who he left behind, and that could be open to interpretation. It could be a wife, it could be a girlfriend, whatever. But he's done something really horrible to this person, and he witnesses the end of the world. So a meteor strikes and destroys everything, or multiple meteors hit the Earth, and that's the end. So that's an event I don't think anybody could process actually seeing. So instead of processing that event and witnessing this outer apocalypse, he goes through this inner apocalypse where he just is destroyed inside, and he realizes there's actually no way to make amends for what he's done, and there's no way back to Earth is gone now. There's no way back to, and he very well might be the last person alive. So that's the kind of surface story, I suppose, of it. But the inner story is really kind of that sense of how we can kind of build a wall around ourselves, and pride can kind of keep you, maybe from, reaching out to apologize to somebody you've done something wrong to. And if they are gone from your life, you can never get that back. And I think there's probably a lot of people that can relate to that story. I would say anyway, because you know, we've only got to witness an Irish funeral to to see the amount of kind of strife that those kind of things can bring, and you know the kind of pain that people put themselves through instead of just saying what they feel, you know, in those last moments. Hopefully that explained it. I kind of find it hard to sometimes verbalize it.
Yeah, no. So rather than a kind of the world ending, as you said, it's that individual person's world ending. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And what you went on about like mortality and stuff like that, that shit keeps me awake at night, man. Sometimes I can't sleep because I just think about mortality. I'm not religious, so oh man, keep me up like. So no, I'm really looking. And are you going to release all of the lyrics with all of the songs so that people can kind of pry further into it?
Yeah, I had obviously very limited resources. I mean, the album was made on a budget of zero. So I during lockdown I decided to kind of learn to make video. So I took an After Effects course and learned to make lyric videos. So I made a lyric video for every song on the album.
Oh, nice. Brilliant.
So they'll be kind of coming out on a gradual basis. Like there's a new one dropping in about 3 weeks, I think, or so. That'll be the next single. And that song has a kind of very different mood and different feel to the single, which is much more morose, I suppose, and kind of like a very sad kind of longing kind of sound to it. This song is very, very angry. I suppose I might as well tell you the story about what it is. This one is kind of like an environmentalist who's really, you know, very far gone into sort of almost insanity territory, and when he learns about the end of the world, he's kind of happy for it to happen. He thinks we deserve it. We haven't taken care of the planet. We've decimated everything around us, so this is absolutely deserved, and I hope everyone burns in an inferno. That's the kind of character this is. And I suppose, you know, the deeper side of that is, you know, if there is someone in your life that's caused you a lot of hurt, you might feel that rage towards them and kind of like, good, I'm fucking glad you're dead. You know, for what you've done, you deserve it, you know, or you deserve to be in pain. So that's kind of where that sort of archetype is coming from. And that's the name of the song is On a Silver Thread, by the way. It's coming out soon.
Oh, nice. Looking forward to that. I'm obviously not going to go into it on here, but I like that concept. That one speaks to me a lot. So,
I think everybody can relate to that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's one person in everybody's life where they think, fuck that guy.
Yeah, some people don't talk about because we live in a snowflake generation, like, you know, so you're not allowed. You can't speak ill of the dead, you know? Yes. Even if they're cunts. But sure, look. Let's see. So I read on your Facebook. Sorry if I'm looking away. My questions are over here on the laptop. So, and it just turned off a second ago, so that's why I looked away. But yeah, so I read on your Facebook that you were trying to capture some of your childhood fear of a nuclear war. Where did this stem from, and what songs can we hear this in?
Oh man,
probably that one there as well.
When I was a kid, there was a movie on TV called Threads. I'm probably a bit older than a lot of the people watching. I don't know. But,
I don't know, man. I don't know. We've all aged a lot in the last year.
That's for sure. But this movie was about a nuclear attack on England, and it was kind of focused on the everyday person, you know. And it was absolutely terrifying as a kid. Like it absolutely scared the shit out of me. You know, anyone I've ever talked to who's seen that movie tells me the same things. Oh yeah, fuck that movie, man! It wrecked my head. It absolutely destroyed me. So that's when I learned what nuclear weapons were and what the Cold War was and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of had, shit, what if they nuke Ireland? We're all going to die. Oh Jesus! So I had that kind of fear in my, as a kid for a while. And there's no song really that's written around that. It's more the instrumentation I use. A lot of the synthesizers that are on the album are from that time period. So I like the idea of kind of tying things, in a way, to a certain period in time, using the instruments that would be used at that time. And obviously, there's heavy guitars on the album, but then you've got these kind of 80s sounding synthesizers as well. I suppose retro futuristic is what I was kind of aiming for. So yeah, that's where that kind of that's the little influence that had on the album.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie. I haven't heard of it actually. I'll watch it tomorrow.
It's probably terrible like now, but seeing it as a kid, I mean, the effects are probably horrendous now. but it's just the way it was done, so kind of starkly, you know. Like I remember a family. There's different families in it, and one of them was at the supermarket, and they send the kid down to tell the mum that the bomb is dropping, that she's got to get home now. And it was just this terrifying moment. As fucking hell. It was very dark on BBC.
Yeah, I suppose we've all played Fallout, so we kind of know the vibes. I suppose that was your generation, and then my generation as we played Fallout. Although I'd say you're not that much older than me, so
probably hopefully not too much older.
I don't know, what are you, 32, 33?
Fuck, 44.
44. Oh man, you're the same age as my dad. I'm only messing, he's 45.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, it didn't. Ah, shit. So is this album going to be a big departure from Abject Tomorrow, or is it going to follow similar vibes? What can old fans look forward to, and what do you think is going to grip new fans?
It's not a million miles away. You know, it's still prog metal. You know, it's anybody who liked that album, the first album, they're not going to have a problem with this album. You know, what they're going to find for me, in my opinion, is I think it's a better album in every way. And I know everyone says that, oh, it's our best work yet. Abject Tomorrow was my first attempt at creating an album. And I made a lot of mistakes when I was recording it. Technical things, not just playing guitar or anything like that. I was recording with a lot of input lag that I didn't know how to sort out, like small things of that. The production was more rushed than I would have liked. You know, and it was for me, it's a bit overblown. It's just a bit too long. This album is much more concise in terms of not every song is super long. Like, I think I have a song that's 3.5 minutes on there, if I remember correctly.
Sure, that's not an intro.
It's not an intro, it's a full song, and it's actually a very complicated song as well. So I managed to kind of trim the fat, but keep the same kind of elements that people would have liked from the first album. The sound is much better. It's much more consistent. So, like on Abject Tomorrow, I think I used 4 or 5 different amps. So on this album, there's one rhythm guitar sound, there's one lead guitar sound, there's a few different clean sounds that I used, and they're recurring on the album. So on Abject Tomorrow, it's like you've got, you know, 2 different kind of clean sounds on one song, and they never happen again on the album. You know, this one, there's more thematic kind of development through the album in terms of the sounds I used and the parts that I wrote as well.
Okay.
So I think it's just overall, it's just much stronger, you know, and I think the concept is stronger. Everything really, I suppose. I could be waffling here for ages about it, but overall, I just think it's far better.
Okay, it feels to me like it's going to be one of those releases where, you know, with some bands you just have to listen album by album rather than just picking singles and listening to them. It sounds like it's going to be one of them, you know. I
hope so. I mean, it's written as an album anyway, you know. I mean, the songs are strong on their own, I think, but I think it's the better listening experience when you just kind of sit down and put on headphones and go through the whole thing like that. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah,
what the fuck do I know?
You heard it here first. That's what everyone has to do when it comes out. So I have a question here from John O'Brien from Irish Metal Archive. So he said that you got Hostile Media on board after you released Abject Tomorrow yourself, and they kind of came on board after the release. How was it like having them from the start this time? Did you notice a big difference, or don't throw them under the bus now, but by all means, you know? So
much better, because like the last time I released the single Abject Tomorrow way before the album, like the idea was to I had no idea what I was doing. Like I said, I was like, oh, I'll just put this up on YouTube and share it to my friends, and we'll see what happens. You know, but that's not how you do things, obviously. You know, there has to be a plan in place. You know, your single and then your PR campaign and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a world of a difference this time. We've had the whole thing planned out. You know, I've had a bit more of a strategy about how I want things to go. I think I'm better at sort of sharing information about it, you know, rather than just kind of beating people over the head with a stick on, you know, share this, like it, you know. I don't find myself doing that this time. I'm just kind of putting it out there, and you know, I feel like the way people have gotten behind it, it's much easier to just sort of let it go. You know, like I said earlier, there's response has been way beyond what I thought. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you deserve it, man. So well done. It's fucking brilliant, you know. So who's who's guesting this time? Are you able to divulge who the rest of the guests are?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we got Nathan on vocals. He was on one song on the first album. Pat Byrne from Head Fuzzy's on bass.
He's brilliant.
He's playing on 7 tracks. I've got Nahuel Ramos from Argentina. He's playing some keyboard solos for me. He was on the first album as well on a couple of tracks. I've got myself on guitar, and the reason I'm putting that in is I actually didn't put my name in the liner notes of the first album. Can you believe that? I've completely forgot to put my own name in.
That's hilarious.
So I've got a guy called Chris Brooks, an incredible guitar player from Australia.
He's one of your teachers, isn't he?
I didn't really take like lessons with him per se. Like I bought a lot of his books because the whole bunch of my technique I needed to fix. You know, I spent a couple of years working really hard on fixing problems because I taught myself and I was doing things arseways for a long time. So I really wanted to fix those things, and you know, he was super helpful and instrumental in making that happen. And then I really wanted violins on one of the songs, like proper live violins. And I just put it out a message on Facebook, and a lady called Shelley Weiss, or Weiss, I don't know how to say that properly, she responded and said she'd do it. So she laid down this amazing quartet thingy on one of the songs, which is, I can't wait for people to hear it. It's fucking class.
Unreal, can't wait.
And Matthias as well, by the way, who mixed and mastered it, he filled in on bass for a couple of tracks, and like I said, he did some additional instrumentation on there as well. You know, just small things to bring the songs up to a new level. That was it. I kept the game much lower this time.
So when's the album out, and where can people get merch and all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff?
The album's out 28th of May. And if people want to kind of support, hopefully a few people more jump on, they can go to my web store, viciousheadsociety.bigcartel.com, or you can go to Bandcamp, Vicious Head Society. I'm not sure the exact Bandcamp address, but if you search there, you'll find it. You can pre-order it there as well digitally. Or even if people don't want to buy and they want to just jump on Spotify and, you know, give the signal a like or follow and play it a couple of times for free. You know, any little thing like that, just go on YouTube and give it a like, share it with a friend, you know, any small thing at all. Like, even if, like, I know everybody, prog isn't for everybody, you know, people like different things, and I think prog is quite niche. But, you know, I mean, it's a small community in this country, and one of the frustrating things I think sometimes is, if you go to any Irish metal community page, you see people share Whiskey in the Jar for the 400 billionth time. A great song, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. It's 100 likes. You see a young band share their song, it'll get 2 likes.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. So I think if people were more conscious of what that can mean to a younger band, I'm not necessarily speaking about myself, but, you know, for a younger band coming up, if people give them a like, follow their page, subscribe to their YouTube, you know, we need new bands, and bands aren't lasting long enough. I think, you know, they're kind of lasting a little while, and then they're like, well, it's not going anywhere, so they sort of go their own way. It'd be great if there was a much more concerted effort, I think, to really push original Irish music, especially in the metal scene, because, you know, as you know yourself, it's a small community.
Yeah, do you think so? Do you think it's a small community?
Well, as far as I know, I mean, honestly, it's just what I don't really meet many people. I'm not a gig kind of person. I actually hate going to gigs.
Well, I think that's purely based on the fact that you're in Ennis, to be honest, man. You know, there's so many people. There's so many people. It's ridiculous. Like when I was doing the live gigs with Petrophile Promotions, the amount of people I met was just fucking insane. I had to cull my Facebook after I stopped doing live shows because I had like fucking 4,000 friends. And like, who are these? It's loads of people I talked to once, and I'm sure they're lovely, but you know, that's not what you want on your
lovely, but fuck off.
yeah, like the page, watch stuff there. You know,
that's awesome to know. I mean, I just remember when I was very young, we were doing metal gigs in Ennis, and there'd be 5 people there. You know, it's probably an Ennis thing, and there's no venues in Ennis anymore either. And I don't even think there's a metal band in Ennis.
Yeah, Censura were from Ennis, weren't they? Is that where they were from?
They were from Newmarket, I think, and Limerick. Okay. So they were
just up the road, yeah. But I think Tony was living in Ennis for a while or something. I'm not sure.
Yes, he
But
was. Yeah.
yeah, no. Like if you have a look around, like I'm apart from doing Instagram for this, I'm not really a big social media guy. But there's loads of fucking groups on Facebook and stuff like that for the metal community that are really really good, man. You get
That's
to
awesome.
meet a lot of people. There's so many people around. But yeah, look, we'll get all of your links for all of the stuff you can buy and your music and everything like that. We'll stick them into the comment section of this video and of the promo video. We'll also stick them into the comment section or the description on YouTube. And this will also be available on Irish Metal Archive. I don't know if John's going to do a write-up. He might do because I just said it. So we'll see.
Well, John.
Pressure's on now, John. Well, he asked me if he could get you on there, so it's on him. So yeah, man, it's been really cool. I was kind of nervous about this one, to be honest, because I do listen to prog, but it's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I'm more of a death metal guy, so I was like, fuck, what am I going to ask this guy? Am I going to be able to relate? But yeah, no, that like the concepts that you spoke of, I think no matter what type of music you're into, if you're just a fucking normal person, you can relate to them. It's really really cool, man. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, it's just when you say death metal thing. I don't think prog. It has a reputation as being this kind of snobby thing, but I don't really see it that way. I listen to, all kinds of stuff. I actually rarely listen to prog at all anymore. It's the last thing I want to hear now. I spend most of my days listening to I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks at the moment, or Iron Maiden. That's like the two things I'm listening to right now.
Yeah, I fucking love Maiden. I suppose what I mean is, I don't. I suppose the titans of prog aren't bands that I really listen to. Like, I don't like Dream Theater. I don't like Rush. I fucking love Symphony X though. But yeah, But it would be more kind of the new school prog that I listen to, like bands like Periphery and things like that, rather than the old school prog. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm more of a necrophagous kind of guy,
Oh, I get you. Really technical.
Yeah. I love it if I don't understand what they're saying. I love it.
What can I say about that?
Awesome. It's not meant to make sense, man.
Shit about the lyrics.
All right, man. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. You said you wanted to do a little Q&A to see if there's anyone. There's 7 people still watching live.
Sure. So if you want to ask any questions, you can fire away.
Yeah, if you want to know what type of sandwiches Graham likes, belt away right now. Now's your time. It's gonna be really awkward if nobody asks any questions.
I don't think we're going to get any.
Give it a minute. Who's even here? It's weird. You can't see who's. You can see when people joined, but you can't see who's currently here.
That's weird. Right.
Yeah, good old technology. They have it all figured out. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all she wrote. Oh, wished.
I hear you're a Funyuns guy. I know this guy. This is a typical question he would ask. I cannot confirm or deny that I like Funyuns.
What are Funyuns?
They're these amazing onion rings you can only get in America. And I get them. My wife's American, you see. So every time we get a care package sent over, there's generally going to be a big bag of them about this size.
Nice. Oh, we've another one. What part of the writing process do you find most difficult besides buzzing?
The lyrics, because of the way I write the lyrics. If I come up with an idea, if I have a riff, generally I'll hear everything top to bottom, how I want the drums to be. It all kind of happens at one time, and then I know what the vocal melody is going to be like. So I have to, when I write the lyrics, I have to fit them to the vocal melody. So that's really difficult to do, especially when you're trying to tell a story. So you're trying to tell a story about something very specific, and you're trying to fit the syllables of a word into the melody. That can be fucking a nightmare sometimes. Other times it's easy, but that's definitely the most difficult thing. Yeah,
like writing lyrics and phrasing are just two different animals. Like,
how do I come up with a song idea? Does it come suddenly to you? That's a good question, and that's my wife asking that one. I suppose the best thing to do is explain how the signal came to me. And this is generally what will happen. I was driving home from a gig. I was playing with a cover band from Cork at the time. It was a Sunday evening, and it was kind of misty and kind of a little bit foggy out. And I remember just kind of, if you drive at all yourself.
I don't know.
But when you drive and you're driving a long journey, you can sort of zone out. You know, just this, especially on a motorway, it's just this blank straight line. And I remember and just hearing that intro thing, that little kind of signally sounding thing. And the minute I heard that, the song kind of wrote itself. It's like I kind of liken it to the little thread, and I just kind of keep pulling on the thread, and the ideas will keep coming. That's the way it is for me. I tend to hear everything at one time, and then I got to quickly get to the guitar and try and figure out what I heard. So, and I don't know if you write this way yourself. I know you make up your own stuff, but generally you might have an idea in your head, but it's different when you get to the guitar. So it's kind of like a Chinese whisper thing. The quicker I get to the guitar, the more it's going to be like what I heard. So
yeah, you don't know music theory, that is, yeah. Can't write it down.
Not with the guitar at all. I get the ideas when I'm not. If I'm out walking a dog or something, then I get the ideas. Boom.
Yeah, I think you might be in the bad books there, man. I think she was trying to bait you into saying that she's your inspiration for the songs.
She's my inspiration too, for sure.
Oh, really serious question here now, man. Really serious question.
Oh shit.
I actually don't even know who Ariana Grande is, to be honest.
I don't know Ariana Grande's music at all, if that's what he's asking. And Taylor Swift is equally terrible. But if it's in terms of looks, I'd probably go with Ariana.
Really? Oh man, yeah. Taylor Swift is the queen, man. I love her. I fucking love her. I'm, as I said, I'm a necrophagist kind of guy, but I love the Taylor Swift. Not gonna have it, you know.
I've had to teach a lot of her songs over the years, so I'm sick of hearing about her now.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts on my dream live lineup?
Okay. You've had like an hour to think about it.
Shit, I didn't even think about it. Okay, I'll just throw some names out. If money was no object and all that kind of stuff, like ideally, like I'd rather have the guys that played on the album, to be honest with you. But let's say they were zapped out of existence. I suppose Marco Miniman would be awesome to have on drums because he can do anything.
Yeah.
On bass, Jesus
on bass.
Why not? I don't know. Fuck. On keyboard, maybe Derek Sherinian. He played on my first album. Or Matt Guillory. I love the way he plays as well. On vocals, I like Bjorn Land. I don't know if you know him very well. He's sung with hundreds of bands over the years. He's kind of like a journeyman. Or Russell Allen from Symphony X is awesome as well. That's it. That's all I can think of. That'll have to do.
Yeah, sure. We'll send the emails out there, and we'll see what the boys say.
I already did. I emailed them for the first album and asked if they would sing and play and whatnot. And of course, they'd say, "Yeah, sure. If you've got 10 grand, you know."
Fucking hell, really outrageous sums like that, yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but you know, they were out of what I could afford anyway.
Yeah. Well, when they hear the album, they'll fucking hear what they missed. What opportunity they missed, you know?
Oh, jeez, I don't know about that.
Yeah, send them a link to the album and just "fuck you" as the title or something, you know?
Fuck you, Russell Allen.
Yeah.
That's got chopped up and quoted and shared everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, he's such a good singer, though, man. I really like Adrenaline Mob as well, and I actually probably prefer Adrenaline Mob to Symphony X, but he's just so versatile, like, you know?
He's ridiculously good.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And live as well. It's not just studio magic. He's fucking fantastic live. Any bands you felt served as an inspiration in the making of this album?
Don't say good.
One of the albums that I loved actually was the latest Tesseract album.
What's that called again?
Fuck. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I haven't really listened to them since in about 6 or 7 years, to be honest, since I saw them.
It's a great album. I really loved it, and it's really short as well, but complex. And so that was kind of you can do complex stuff and keep it concise. Plus the sound of the album is amazing. I really like the sound of the drums, and so that was kind of one of the things I suppose would have inspired the way I wanted the production to be. Not really the songwriting though, because they're their own thing. And if you try to sound like them, you just sound like a bargain bin version of them, I think.
Yeah.
What else? I don't think there was much else. Like I wasn't, like I said, I don't really listen to much prog anymore. And if I do, it's really old stuff. You know, I don't listen to Dream Theater very often. I'll put it that way. I don't, you know, I don't know. I would say that would be the only album I can think of that would have been an inspirational thing for it. But more in terms of the sound, like I was saying.
Yeah, they're tighter than a duck's arse, man. Tesseract, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you see them? You've seen them live, surely, yeah?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I'm the worst person in the world for going to gigs. I'm grouchy, fucking giving out kind of person. I hate being around other people, really.
Yeah. Oh, you must be loving this lockdown. So, like, I'd be the same as you, man. I'm very introverted, but I love gigs. You know, that's the only time I go out. You know.
So for me, it's difficult to be around people that are drunk.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy gigs, but you know, I'll watch the band and get straight out of there. You know.
Yeah, fair. When I saw Tesseract, it was such an unusual lineup, man. I saw Tesseract in Dublin supporting Lamb of God.
That's really weird.
It's so strange. Yeah, really good show though. Two brilliant bands. Lamb of God are one of my favorite bands. Like, so happy days. You know? But that was my introduction to Tesseract.
That's an interesting way to kind of come to that music, I think, for sure.
They're the tightest live band I've probably ever seen, bar Meshuggah. Yeah, except for Ash's vocals cut out for a little while, so it was kind of instrumental. But you don't mind Tesseract being instrumental, like, you know.
No, I'd be happy enough to listen to it on its own.
Yeah, like it was good and bad in a sense, because like it was so tight that it was just like listening to the album. There was no kind of live feel to it, you know.
Right. Interesting.
Really impressive, but you know, you want that little bit of extra flair, you know?
Yeah, you want somebody to kind of feel like they're going to make a mistake, you know. I like that. I like a bit of a live band for sure.
Yeah.
What is my favorite song on the new album and why? Okay, tough question. It's like trying to pick from one of my children. But there is one song on the album that I really like at the moment. It's called Hymn of Creation. It's the last song on the album, and what I did was, like, when I thought the album was going to be finished a couple of years ago, I put out a message on my Facebook asking people to send in messages of goodbye to maybe somebody they'd lost, somebody they were angry with, or even a dog that passed away, you know, something like that. And a load of people sent in messages from all over the world. So I've got people from Japan, South America, England, wherever, you know, sending their final farewell to someone in their life. And that's something I put in as the track kind of comes to the finale. And I think it's a really, really cool part for me. You know, it's a really nice way to end the album and kind of immortalize some of the people that bought it and, you know, really have supported me. I mean, I got very patient people waiting on that Facebook page, clamoring to hear this new album. It's amazing that people even care, to be honest. But yeah, I think that song is probably my favorite at the moment. I was really satisfied with how it came out. There's this really big orchestral bit in the middle as well that came across really well. Yeah, that sounds really pretentious now. Holy fuck.
It doesn't, man. It doesn't. It's not pretentious to be proud of something, you know?
Well, normally I'm the complete opposite. If you talk to me after I finished Abject, I'd be apologizing for the album. I'm not very confident in my musical ability at all. And I give myself a really hard time all the time. You know, before the release of this, you know, only for my wife, I'm telling you, there was times I nearly hit delete. I'm dead serious. I'm very, very hard on myself, and everything has to be the way I want it to be, or I'm a little bit sort of, I suppose, obsessive in some ways. And if I put out something and it gets a kind of bad response, I feel horrible for weeks. You know, we're probably way too sensitive to the whole thing.
You're just human, though. It's a lot better to feel like that than to be pretentious. You know, like there's nothing worse than when you have like a musician who's good at what they do and then you meet them and they're a cunt and it's someone that you look up to, you know. So you're not that guy, you know.
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, I don't really consider myself to be a very good guitar player at all. Like you know, Connor. I think you've had Connor from Enigma on here. He is incredible as a guitar player to me. He's what I'd love to be. You know, he's what I would be chasing, that level. You know, And he said the same thing to me. He says, "Oh, dude, you're amazing." But, you know, I suppose we probably see the best in other people rather than ourselves, you know. But yeah, for me, it's more about the complexity of the songs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I suppose from my perspective, to be honest with you, man, I would put you and Connor and PJ O'Connell into the same bracket.
Oh, he's awesome as well. PJ's, and he's an incredibly nice dude as well.
So sound, yeah.
He actually sent me up a set of speakers here when I was having that buzzing issue. He thought maybe it was them that was causing the problem, but sadly it didn't work out. But I mean, for just to do that, I don't even know the guy. You know?
Yeah. Like, I've met PJ 2 or 3 times, man, and anytime I've been struggling with any technique or anything like that, I might send him a message going, "Hey, what's the best way to get around this?" And about half an hour later, he's fucking written an instructional video for me and he sent it and everything. It's just brilliant. Like, he's such a nice guy.
He is. He's absolutely amazing. And an incredible partner as well. Yeah.
He's so young as well, man. He's only 27 or 28. Like,
they make me very jealous.
Crazy, like, you know, same age as me. But yeah, that's mad. I'm glad we got those extra questions in there now, man. I think the people here should be writing these instead of me, because, as I said to you, and it's been the same for every show, man. I write the questions for the show at 6 o'clock on Saturday.
Honestly, I prefer that, to be honest, because I always get asked the same questions, and one of the questions I always get asked is the band name about sucking fucking Mickey? And it's not, obviously not. You know, the band name came from when I was in music school. I've told this story, I might as well tell the story again. Every second band in music school was a Red Hot Chili Peppers fucking wannabe band. And it was me and 2 other guys that hated that I still hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers, by the way, that hated that band. And we hated the way everyone wanted to be them. So we set about doing the complete opposite, like writing these ridiculous 3-minute songs that made no sense whatsoever. And we said, so we might as well give this band a name. We went onto a random band name generator on the internet, and I said, lads, the first thing that comes up, we're taking it. So we hit enter, and the first thing that came up was the Vicious Head Society, and that's what we started.
It sounds like the name of like a swingers club or something, you know? A really aggressive swingers club.
And I get asked all the time about it, you know, is it about, especially from American people, because head over there has a different kind of, I mean, we've adopted that meaning a bit over here as well, but it's very much ingrained over there. Or people ask me as well, you know, is it a commentary on how angry people are in society in general? I was like, no, just
it means nothing.
And I thought about changing the name of it many times. In fact, I was going to change the name of it before this album as well. I asked all the people on Facebook, and they were like, "No, we love the name. Keep it."
It's a cool name, yeah. It's a really cool name. And I'm forever going to think of it as an aggressive swingers party. Like with everyone, especially single people in lockdown now, I'm sure they would love to join a Vicious Head Society.
Holy fuck. Unless they enjoy getting their Mickeys bitten off, then not advisable.
Look, man, as I've always said, there's a fetish for everything, and the best lube is willpower.
There you go. Couldn't have put it better myself.
I feel like I'm going to have to edit a lot of shit out, but I'm not going to.
I think prog fans like to hear about this kind of stuff.
Who likes hearing about this kind of stuff?
Prog fans, they love all this malarkey.
I thought you said girlfriends there.
Jesus Christ, no.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some do. You know, we have to be inclusive in this day and age, and maybe there are some that like this kind of thing.
Like, realistically, a lot of prog fans are probably virgins, so they want to hear this, you know? Go on, roast me. What?
I hope your address is private.
Nobody wants to go to the park. It's fine. 5K rule, I'm protected, man. I'm protected. Yeah. All right. So let's nobody's asked a question in a little while there. So Graham, absolute pleasure. Wanted to get you on in here for a while. I can't remember who requested it, but he was watching a while ago. So thank you for that request, for getting Graham on here.
Thanks very much.
The babes are lining up. Yeah. Fuck, man, I've lost my train of thought. We'll get all the links up so that you can support Graham. And I need to buy that T-shirt again because my transaction failed for some reason.
Oh yeah,
I got the money back though, so
awesome.
Yeah, so I'll just buy it again later. Yeah, buy stuff off Graham and check this out either on Instagram afterwards. It'll be posted here completely unedited in the series, but it'll be edited on YouTube. And
Cool.
yeah,
Before I go, I want to just say thanks to anyone who tuned in or anyone who's checked out the new song over the last while. I'm saying thank you all the time. It's because I'm like I said, I'm completely blown away that people have taken the time to check it out and share it. But again, I just want to thank everybody for all their support. And like I was, saying earlier, pre-orders are fucking way beyond anything I could have pictured. So massive thanks to anybody who hit the buy button. It's going to help me make a new album, and it's going to pay the guys who worked. Like I said earlier, all of the people who recorded for me did it on promise. I took excuse me, I swallowed my own tongue. I took a very big risk, and I said, look, I'm going to try and sell as much as I can, and I'll pay you afterwards. So everybody in Mateus mixed and mastered on a promise. Nathan sang on a promise. Clement played on a promise. Pat, fucking Nawel. So it's, for anybody that's helped me to kind of feel better about putting some money in their pocket, I really appreciate it. So yeah. That's all I can say. Thanks.
Look who just joined last minute, Keith McCoy.
Oh.
Thanks for making it, Keith. But we're wrapping it up here unless you have any questions for Graham.
Get it in there quick.
Yeah, lob it in there, Keith. Go on. I think this is actually probably my longest episode to date. Why the fuck? Yeah, it's usually like.
Did I go over time? Fuck.
No, there's no such thing as overtime. The only time that there was a time limit was when I had Dean Lamb, because he plays an Archspire, so like big deal. So we just had half an hour with him. He did it for free though, so it was still good fun,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think we've just got over an hour, so that's pretty solid, man. So hopefully YouTube lets me upload an hour. I don't have a clue. I haven't uploaded in ages. But yeah, okay. This is like the end of an Irish phone call, man. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Let's just fucking kill it.
Yeah. Right. No, you hang up.
I don't know how.
I don't. It's just the X on the top right.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. All right, man. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you later.
Man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, lads. That was the most crack I've had on one of these in quite a while. So, as I said, the unedited version will be up on Instagram probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. And we'll edit, I suppose, a PG version for YouTube, because you know how they can be. And we'll get it up on Irish Metal Archive, and we'll get all the links and all that kind of stuff too. But thanks for tuning in. It was a blast. I hope to announce my next guest in as soon as I can. I kind of said who it was on the show last week, so if you want to know, look at it. So catch you later.